Welcome back to the deep dive, where we try to cut through the noise, find those aha moments, and hopefully leave you feeling, well, properly informed.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're diving into something. Well, it's a pairing so delightfully unexpected, it might just be one of the most intriguing connections we've tackled yet.
Definitely sounds like it could be.
Okay, so let's unpack this. What if I told you there are these deep, fascinating threads connecting, wait for it, the Bard of Avon, William Shakespeare,
Mm-hmm.
to the architects of reelin' in the years, Steely Dan.
Wow.
Yes, that's Shakespeare and that's Steely Dan.
All right. I mean, it sounds like a stretch at first, doesn't it? You've got, what, 16th century English drama sort of bumping up against 20th century American jazz rock.
Exactly. Worlds apart, you'd think.
But what's truly compelling here, and this is what our sources really dig into, is when we connect this to the bigger picture, literary and musical influence, you discover this surprisingly rich tapestry. Our mission today really isn't just finding some superficial similarities. It's about uncovering these profound echoes, in their wit, their cynicism, those intricate character studies, and the deep psychological insights that actually both bodies of work offer.
Absolutely. So yeah, our deep dive today is all about exploring those surprising lineages of influence and also the direct thematic parallels between these two, let's face it, cultural giants.
Well,
We're
yeah.
drawing from a stack of really intriguing sources here, and hopefully you're going to discover how Shakespeare's creative DNA, maybe in some roundabout ways, but always compellingly, made its mark on the sophisticated, often cynical, and just utterly unique world of Steely Dan.
Indeed. And it's a testament, really, to how artistic ideas, sensibilities, they aren't static, are they? They evolve, they transform, they find new expression across centuries, across different mediums.
Yeah.
It's not always a straight line, It's often more like a complex, kind of beautiful web of inspiration.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Our sources lay out several pretty plausible influence chains, as they call them, ways that show Shakespeare's creative spirit sort of weaving its way, generation by generation, all the way into Steely Dan's distinctive sound. It's almost like tracing a family tree, but for ideas.
That's precisely it. Influence isn't always a direct handoff, is it? It often flows through these various cultural transmitters, almost like a sophisticated game of artistic telephone across generations.
Yeah, good analogy.
So let's look at a few of these fascinating chains.
Okay, let's do it.
Well, one really clear path runs directly through the world of jazz. Now, we often think of Shakespeare as purely literary.
Right, plays and sonnets.
But he directly inspired Duke Ellington's magnificent 12-part jazz suite, Such Sweet Thunder, composed back in 1957.
Okay, Such Sweet Thunder. Didn't know that.
Yeah, and what prompted Ellington to bridge these worlds? Well, he was specifically commissioned by Canada's Stratford Shakespeare Festival in 1956.
The festival connection. Makes sense.
Exactly. Now, connect that to Steely Dan. Donald Fagen and Walter Becker were famously, lifelong jazz heads.
Oh, absolutely. You hear it everywhere in their music.
They didn't just admire Ellington, they directly engaged with his work. They covered his iconic East St. Louis Tootaloo on their 1974 album Pretzel Logic.
Right, I remember that cover.
And they openly paid tribute to bebop giants in songs like Parker's Band. So you have this chain, Shakespeare inspiring Ellington's musical interpretation, and then Ellington's work, and jazz more broadly directly influencing Steely Dan's musical choices, their harmonies, their arrangements, their taste.
So hang on. In a way, when you're listening to Steely Dan's homage to jazz, you're hearing this distant but undeniable echo of the Bard.
Yeah.
Filtered through a jazz legend. That's a lineage you really don't expect. But, okay, beyond the musical notes, there's also a strong connection in the words themselves, isn't there, in the lyrics?
Absolutely. Beyond the musical lineage, we find Shakespeare's, indelible mark, shaping a distinct lyrical tradition that, in turn, flows right into Steely Dan's very precise songwriting.
Okay. How does that work?
Well, think about Shakespeare's works. They're foundational for English lit, right? Renowned for witty wordplay, complex characters, sharp societal satire.
Definitely.
This tradition then visibly carries through figures like Oscar Wilde. His work, his criticism, is just steeped in Shakespearean references.
Right. Wilde, yeah.
Then Noel Coward inherits Wilde's epigrammatic style, that concise, witty, often paradoxical high society comedy. Coward even performed and rewrote lyrics for Cole Porter songs.
Porter. Okay, I see the line forming.
And Porter himself really cements this tradition in American popular song with Kiss Me, Kate back in 1948, which, of course, was a direct musical adaptation of Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew.
Right. Kiss Me, Kate.
So Fagan and Becker, they explicitly drew on this whole songbook tradition, this jazz sophistication, as a core part of their musical and lyrical approach. They valued that cleverness, that sharp observation, maybe above all else.
So it's like a direct line of sophisticated wit, social commentary, almost surgical wordplay, moving from Shakespeare's Globe Theater through Broadway and landing right in the precise, often quite cynical lyrics of Steely Dan.
Exactly.
That makes so much sense when you lay it out like that. And there's another fascinating connection too, right? Slightly darker, maybe?
Yeah.
And surprisingly literal for the band itself.
This next chain, it sort of raises the question, how do artistic sensibilities, like, say, cynical wit or fascination with society's underbelly, how do they travel?
Yeah.
Well, our sources point to a distinct modernist and satirical link. Think T.S. Eliot, a titan of modernist poetry. He explicitly grappled with Shakespeare throughout his work. You see it in essays like Hamlet and His Problems, or that famous line in Prufrock, "No, I'm not Prince Hamlet."
Prufrock, yeah.
Then critics also note that William S. Burroughs' distinctive language often echoes and reworks Eliot's The Waste Land.
Burroughs. Okay, now I know where this is going.
Yep. Here's the literal connection. Steely Dan famously took their name from Burroughs' novel Naked Lunch, specifically from a steam-powered dildo named Steely Dan.
Wait, so the band's name, arguably one of the most iconic, sophisticated-sounding names in rock history, comes from, in a Burroughs novel, who himself was riffing on Eliot, who was obsessed with Shakespeare.
Yeah.
That's a truly mind-bending lineage.
It is, isn't it?
It's incredible how these ideas just twist and turn through culture, sometimes in the most unexpected ways.
And beyond just the name, they absorbed Burroughs' cynical wit, right?
Yeah.
His fascination with the seedy underbelly of American culture, his technique of combining high literary sophistication with, let's say, lowbrow subject matter.
That blend, yeah.
That blend of scholarly irony, dense, highly literate lyrics, obscure cultural references, black humor, all delivered with this kind of detached observational tone. It was further extended through figures like Frank Zappa and Tom Lehrer, who Fagan and Becker actually cited as key influences.
Zappa and Lehrer, right? More scholarly irony.
It truly shows how these intellectual and thematic currents, maybe originating with Shakespeare, found these complex, modern, sometimes pretty jarring forms.
It's just incredible how these foundational ideas from Shakespeare just radiate outwards, not just directly, but through all these layers of artistic interpretation, reimagination. So what does this all mean for us? It's not just one simple line, is it? It's a whole web of connections. And it really enriches how you appreciate both Steely Dan and Shakespeare, I think.
It really does.
Okay, so from those broad strokes of influence, let's maybe transition now to something even more specific. How Steely Dan's albums, with their distinct moods and narratives, how they seem to map thematically onto particular Shakespearean plays.
Yeah, this is fascinating stuff.
Our sources provide some incredibly insightful mappings here. And what's pretty cool is that different experts actually see different parallels sometimes, which just highlights how rich both bodies of work truly are, right?
Exactly. And what's particularly striking is that shared commitment. The intricate narratives, the psychological depth, the sharp societal critique that connects these works that seems so disparate on the surface.
Okay, so where do we start? Their debut.
Let's start right at the beginning. Can't Buy a Thrill, 1972.
Good.
Many sources draw a really compelling parallel between this album and A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, much like Shakespeare's magical forest setting in that play, Can't Buy a Thrill kind of plunges its characters into this world where romantic entanglement often blurs reality with a sort of playful delusion.
Right, the confusion, the mix-ups.
Exactly. Songs like Do It Again and Reelin' in the Years, they beautifully echo that cyclical confusion, that romantic entanglement. It sets the stage for Steely Dan's lifelong exploration of blurred lines, the often deceptive nature of desire. You see those bright, accessible surfaces, but they're masking the skeptical core, much like the charming chaos you get in Shakespeare's romantic comedies.
I can definitely hear that blend. That playfulness, but with an underlying, maybe slightly dark skepticism in those early songs. Especially with the romantic stuff, it definitely sets a mood. Okay, so If Can't Buy a Thrill gave us romantic entanglements, then with pretzel logic in 74, Steely Dan takes this distinct turn inward, right? They start grappling with introspection, ambiguity, in a way that really echoes Shakespeare's most famously pensive character.
That's a perfect way to put it. Pretzel logic is frequently mapped to Hamlet.
Hamlet, okay.
The album is often described as deeply introspective, full of twisty self-analysis, a sense of time slippage, cryptic messages.
Yeah, definitely cryptic.
The title track itself, right? With its time travel fantasia, Ricky, don't lose that number. This opaque, hopeful kind of message, any major dude will tell you, offering philosophical consolation. All of that resonates deeply with Hamlet's existential questioning, his stalled action, his grappling with memory, that intense intellectual struggle to make sense of a pretty chaotic world.
Twisty introspection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely fits the vibe of pretzel logic. And moving on to the next album, Katie Lied from 1975. This one feels a bit darker, doesn't it? Am I right?
It does, yeah. Katie Lied draws these powerful parallels to Othello.
Othello, okay. Betrayal.
Exactly. The album's very title, Katie Lied, immediately evokes themes of betrayal, deception. It mirrors Othello's central concerns. Trust, rumor, the profound ache of betrayal. Songs like Dr. Wu explore those painful dynamics of triangulation, unreliable confidants. Bad Sneakers evokes this nostalgic longing, but it's tinged with regret.
Yeah.
The whole album suggests a world where stories, whispers, they can weaponize intimacy and shatter relationships, much like Iago's insidious insinuations just unravel Othello's world.
Oh, it's about that erosion of trust, yeah. The devastating consequences of deception, whether it's personal or societal, that's a really potent connection.
Very much so.
Okay, that leads us then to The Royal Scam, 1976. This album has such a hard-edged feel, almost a criminal undercurrent to it.
That's right. The Royal Scam is strongly linked by many sources to Macbeth.
Macbeth, ambition, corruption.
Precisely. It's a dark, cynical album, deeply concerned with crime, corruption, ambition, moral decay. Tracks like Kid Charlemagne detailing the rise and, spectacular fall of this drug kingpin figure.
Yeah, great story song.
And Don't Take Me Alive, which captures that frantic paranoia of a man on the run. They mirror Macbeth's regicide, his spiraling paranoia, those desperate attempts to escape the consequences of his actions. It's a world where ambition just curdles into paranoia and dreams of grandeur are quickly replaced by fear and flight.
The allure and ultimate collapse of ambition. Yeah, that's a classic Shakespearean theme right there, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And then for what many consider the absolute pinnacle of their classic run, Aja from 1977, this feels like a different beast entirely, almost transcendent somehow.
Aja is often likened to The Tempest, and it's a truly elegant fit, I think.
The Tempest. Okay. Prospero. Magic.
Yeah, both represent this late-style mastery, right? A luminous craft, a subtle drift perhaps towards forgiveness, resolution. Art portrayed as a kind of sorcery, maybe. Storms finally resolving into this exquisitely arranged calm.
I like that. Exquisitely arranged calm. That's very Aja.
The sweet-like epic title track, Aja itself. The redemptive self-mythologizing of Deacon Blues. The mask-like sparkle and precision of Peg. It all feels profoundly Prospero-esque. This album represents a peak of artistic sophistication, control, a kind of magical reconciliation mirroring Prospero's command over his island and his ultimate decision to, well, forgive. It's an album that manages to be both incredibly complex and profoundly moving.
So what stands out to you listening back to this? How these albums tell a kind of Shakespearean story? For me, it's not just the themes. It's how these musical narratives, album by album, seem to parallel the deep character work and the complex plots that Shakespeare just masterfully created.
Yeah.
It truly elevates the experience of listening to both, I think.
I agree completely.
Okay, now let's get even more granular. Let's zoom in on some of Steely Dan's most iconic songs and discover their Shakespearean soulmates, often in, unexpected soliloquies or specific character arcs. This is where individual phrases really start to sing, maybe.
Precisely. This lets us see how specific lyrics, specific thematic threads within individual songs can echo really profound Shakespearean moments. Let's start with maybe the big one from Aja, Deacon Blues.
Okay, Deacon Blues, a masterpiece.
Our sources draw a truly powerful parallel here to Hamlet's to be or not to be soliloquy.
Wow. Okay, unpack that.
Both protagonists, Hamlet and the narrator of Deacon Blues, they reflect deeply on identity, on faith, on meaning, amid this deep sense of disillusionment. The song's lines, "I'll learn to work the saxophone, I'll play just what I feel." And later, they call Alabama the Crimson Tide, Call Me Deacon Blues.
Yeah.
They beautifully mirror Hamlet's existential contemplation, the allure of maybe oblivion, or at least a different kind of existence, and this chosen identity defined in defiance of societal norms, of expectations.
Call Me Deacon Blues. It's a declaration.
It's a defiant act of self-creation. Some sources also link it to Prince Hal's self-fashioning as art in Henry IV, Part 1, scripting this myth of glamorous failure until the role becomes the life.
The idea of self-definition in the face of the world's expectations. That's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Very relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how about Kid Charlemagne from The Royal Scam? Such a vivid story, rise and fall.
Kid Charlemagne finds its stark echo in Macbeth's Act 5, Scene 5 soliloquy, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow.
The bleakness.
Yeah. The song's narrative of this fallen king of the drug scene, his meteoric rise, his conquests, and then the bitter, sour aftertaste of this illusion-built kingdom. It shares a chilling hangover with Macbeth's endgame.
Yeah.
Paranoia, the need for a frantic cleanup, that dawning realization that the empire he built was, in the end, just smoke and mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
Even the lyric, is there gas in the car? Yes, there's gas in the car. It kind of echoes this delusional, desperate confidence in the face of inevitable collapse.
That's chillingly perfect. That desperate clinging to a fading reality, even as it crumbles. Wow. Okay, and reeling in the years from Can't Buy a Thrill, a classic song, feels almost like a conversation, or maybe an accusation.
Yeah, it's often strikingly aligned with King Lear's blistering address in Act 1, Scene 4. Oh, reason, not the need.
Lear? Really?
Both are these powerful second-person scolds, aren't they? About squandered time, perceived ingratitude. The song's themes, wasted potential, borrowed brilliance, directed at a former lover, they resonate with Lear's bitter reckoning over what's been given and taken, that painful recognition of past follies.
I never thought of it that way.
It's also seen by some as mirroring Jacques' All the World's a Stage monologue from As You Like It.
The 7 Ages of Man.
Exactly, a melancholic reflection on wasted time, lost love, the absurdities of aging, aligning with Jacques' musing on life's inevitable disappointments.
Wow, turning a seemingly straightforward rock song into a Lear-like lament or a Jacques-esque rumination on life's stages. That really opens it up, doesn't it?
It does.
And Do It Again from that same debut album. It feels like an inescapable loop, that song.
It absolutely does. And Do It Again is frequently paired with Macbeth as a whole, actually. Specifically, its central theme of the compulsive repetition of destructive behavior.
On a cycle.
The song's fatal loops, the compulsion, the payback, the inevitable repeat, that perfectly mirror Macbeth's cyclical violence, his being trapped in patterns of his own making, unable to escape the consequences or the psychological burden.
Yeah.
Both narratives explore that tragic inevitability of human folly, of being caught in a self-perpetuating cycle of error.
The inescapable cycle of human folly.
Yeah.
Definitely a universal theme, Shakespearean or otherwise. Okay, finally. Ricky, Don't Lose That Number from Pretzel Logic. There's such a delicate blend of hope and vulnerability in that song.
There really is. And our sources connect Ricky, Don't Lose That Number often to Helena's persistent yet sort of indirect courtship and letters in All's Well That Ends Well.
Okay, All's Well. That's a deep-cut connection.
It portrays this urbane longing, but via these indirect messages, right? A plea to maintain a fragile connection, keeping a door open without a head-on confession. Its desire routed through etiquette, distance, a hint of desperation maybe. It captures the urgency and vulnerability of that plea, a desire shadowed by the risk of misunderstanding. Maybe like Romeo and Juliet's balcony scene in some ways.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or even Benedict's soliloquy in Much Ado About Nothing, where this intellectual finds himself completely, clumsily disarmed by love and just desperate hope.
An intellectual disarmed by love. That sounds very Steely Dan and very Shakespearean, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just incredible how these songs, when you look at them this way, act like modern soliloquies, capturing profound human experiences just like Shakespeare did centuries ago. The layered meaning, the psychological depth, the wit, it's all there, just set to a very different beat.
Exactly.
It makes you realize how truly timeless these themes are.
Precisely. Shakespeare's enduring influence passed down through these diverse artistic channels, jazz, modernist literature, that witty Lear tradition, it finds this vibrant, incredibly sophisticated echo in Steely Dan's music.
Yeah.
Whether it's through direct inspiration, thematic resonance, or just shared literary approaches to character and narrative, the connections are, I think, undeniable once you start looking.
I agree.
And, there's always more to learn. Seeing these surprising connections between different art forms, it just deeply enriches our understanding of both, doesn't it? It reveals how artists across centuries are grappling with the same fundamental human questions.
Absolutely. So maybe next time you're listening to Steely Dan's meticulously crafted soundscapes, or perhaps rereading Shakespeare's timeless dramas, consider this. What other unexpected deep dives are waiting out there to be explored? Connecting seemingly disparate corners of culture simply because human nature, wit, ambition, folly, they remain eternally timeless.
A great thought to end on.
Thank you for joining us on this pretty fascinating deep dive today.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.